All right, part 2 of how I have personally started healing my own abandonment wounds from being sold for crack at 6 months old, losing my identity, losing my mother. So watch part 1 and you'll kind of understand what led me to this video, but let's get into it. We have to ask ourselves the questions, what did you want as a child? What did you want your mother to do? What did you want her to be? What did you want your father to do? Who did you want him to be? And when you get clear with that, ask yourself, how can you show up as that for yourself? How can you imagine it differently? And how can you visualize that new timeline for yourself? It's that literal, it's that hard, and it's also that easy. I wanted to be with my bio family. So where in your life, and we have to collapse the timelines, and this is gonna be spacing, that's fine. I saw how I kept my 3 children, where my mother got rid of 2 and got rid of me. She kept 2 and got rid of me. I kept all 3 of my babies. So that in itself is me healing my timeline, and I received that. I have become the mother that I needed. And 9 times out of 10, I bet that who are watching this, Jesus, will realize when you ask yourself that question, you have already done the work to embody that which you needed. You just don't feel worthy of receiving it. We create our lives around our trauma without realizing that we're actually healing it all along. We just don't feel worthy of receiving it. So we have to imagine pulling ourselves out of that timeline and visualizing what would be and what is differently. What have you done differently than your mother? What have you done differently than your father? And if you haven't done anything differently, what do you want to shift? And let's not induce shame with this, because that's very important. We were shamed for these things. We were shamed for wanting our needs met. We were shamed in the same way they were shamed, and that pattern has been repeating for so long. And I wish that there was just an easy answer to say, oh, you could just do blank, 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 but we really can't. It's not that easy. It's about finding your innermost core wound and sitting with it and letting it bleed and trusting that it will heal because you are doing the work. And if you're having these thoughts, or you're even having the question about wanting to heal your abandonment wounds, celebrate it. It's hard to go to these dark parts of our psyche. That is hard work. That's shadow work in itself. Questions are portals, and when we start questioning our reality, we start questioning these stories that have led us to this point, you are alchemizing them. The object is already in motion and you're applying force to the shit that doesn't serve you. That is to be celebrated. But I do have a little technique that I do to actually conceptualize it, so I'm going to do that in part 3. So thank you for being here and stay tuned.